smiled a sad smile. Xenia felt a flicker of hope. She scrambled. Chapter 9. Can trees be trusted? Zeph's eyes widened with surprise. Xenia kept talking. She didn't want to give herself a chance to think about what she was suggesting. I hear there's a big music festival coming to town this summer.
Music festival coming to town this summer.
Xenia added. There will be tourists everywhere. I could help you feed the forest. Two is always better than one, right? Zeph's eyebrows furrowed. Without a word, she turned and walked up to the twisted tree across the clearing. Zeph pressed her head and hands against the bark. It seemed as if she was silently discussing the idea with the tree. Did it work? Did I find a way to escape? Xenia wondered. She closed her eyes as they decided her fate. Trapped in the tree, Xenia could sense other victims in the forest. She felt their sadness. She heard their sobs that echoed through the years. Many had been strangers to Raven's Pass. Some had been hiking. Others, much older, had been chopping wood. Xenia didn't know how she knew all this, but she was sure the people and their stories were real. Fine, let's do it, Zeph said suddenly. Xenia opened her eyes. What? The trees have agreed to have 2 hunters, Zeph announced. They'll let you go if you promise to serve them. Xenia's stomach churned as she thought about what it meant to be a hunter. To feed the trees. One thing at a time, she told herself. I just have to survive this first. I promise, Xenia said. Zeph smiled. It must have convinced the forest too, because little by little, Xenia could feel the tree releasing her. The snugness around her body loosened. Her arms pushed out from the trunk, followed by her torso. Her right foot wiggled free, and then her left foot stuck. Xenia pulled, but it didn't budge. Instead, she felt a slight tug, as if the tree was sucking her back in. My foot! Xenia cried. Hey! Zeph yelled, banging on the trunk. Let her go! All the trees in the clearing groaned. Branches swayed overhead, and leaves fluttered down, but Xenia's foot remained stuck. Xenia's heart beat so fast that she felt dizzy. She started imagining herself back inside the tree, trapped. She would join the other victims. She would become nothing more than a memory in the forest. She couldn't let that happen. Xenia pulled at her foot with both hands. Zeph wrapped her arms around Xenia's waist and tugged from behind. We'll go together on the count of 3, Xenia said through gritted teeth. 1, 2. Zeph squeezed tighter. Xenia took a deep breath. 3! Swoop! Both girls flew back as Xenia's foot slipped free. Xenia landed hard on her side. For a second, relief swept through her. Then she heard the familiar rustle of moving roots. She scrambled to her feet. "Zeph! Help!" she screamed. But Zeph didn't reply. Xenia looked out at the twisted tree across the clearing. She froze as all the breath left her body. Zeph's face peered out from the trunk. The rest of her was trapped in the tree, just as Xenia had been minutes earlier. "We had a deal," Zeph shouted to the forest. Her eyes were wide with panic. What's going on?" Whispers floated in the air. The words were coming from the trees, and Xenia understood them. "You have grown old, Zephyr," the trees said. "We have not been well fed in many years. It is time for a fresh, new hunter." Chapter 10. A New Beginning. I'm sorry, Xenia said as she rushed through the forest. "Xenia!" Zeph's voice rang out behind her. But what can I do? Xenia thought. She couldn't free Zeph. She had left her best friend behind. Again. Tears blinded Xenia's steps, but she kept stumbling toward home. She had to get out of the forest. "Remember your duty," the trees whispered as she passed each one. If you fail, we die. If we die, the world ends. Remember your duty. As the forest began to thin, tiny yellow dots rained down from the treetops. Pollen floated all around Xenia. She coughed as she breathed it in while she ran. But then she slowed. She inhaled deeply. The pollen scent was comforting. All her fears began to melt away. As Xenia crossed the tree line, the morning sunshine greeted her like an old friend. She laughed. Something had changed inside Xenia, and she couldn't explain it. She felt lighter, as if none of the night's horrors had taken place. In fact, a power seemed to flow through her. Suddenly, Xenia understood her purpose. She was the forest's protector, a hunter. It was her duty to keep the trees alive and ensure the world would not end. Xenia skipped to her backyard fence. As she fiddled with the gate, parents rushed out. She wasn't worried, though. The forest would help her know what to say. "Xenia, where have you been?" Mom cried, running over. "Are you okay?" "Why would you go into the forest again?" Dad added. "It's dangerous." Xenia took a deep breath. "I'm sorry I worried you. I thought Zeph might still be in there. But I was wrong. If her family isn't concerned, then maybe Zeph just doesn't want to be friends anymore." Mom wrapped her arms around Xenia. "I'm so sorry to hear that." I still don't like any of this. Dad said as they started walking to the house. "There's something sinister about this place. I'm going to ask for a transfer."
I'm going to act for
Xenia stopped. No, please, Dad, let's stay,
Let's stay.
she insisted. This situation with Zeph was just a weird one-time thing. Let's give this little town a chance. Dad looked puzzled. Are you sure? I am, Xenia replied. After spending the night in the forest, I can tell you it's not dangerous. There's nothing sinister about Raven's Pass. As she spoke, a small cloud of yellow pollen surrounded her dad. He sneezed. When he looked up again, he was smiling. Of course, you're right, he said. We will stay, and we'll go camping in the forest soon. I feel like breaking out the gear again. That would be fun, Xenia said, smiling too. She remembered Zeph mentioning the power of the tree's pollen. It had made Dad forget his experience in the forest, and somehow she knew the pollen would make her parents believe anything she said. The family came to their back door. Mom stepped inside while Xenia and Dad paused to look out at the forest. The trees gleamed in the sunshine. Mom walked back out and offered Xenia a glass of milk. Together, the three stood in the yard, enjoying the bright morning. Raven's Pass will be our home, Xenia told her parents, and I won't be the new kid anymore. In fact, I'll help other new kids fit in. A warm breeze blew. Xenia was positive she could hear the trees' voices being carried along on the wind. They seemed to be singing. We have a new hunter, the forest sang. We will no longer be hungry. Xenia's heart swelled with pride. She sipped her glass of milk. I think I prefer vegetable juice now, she told Mom, chuckling. And did you know there's a food truck in town that sells a delicious veggie pretzel?